Did AEW make a mistake by signing Mercedes Mone? That is a question which we are going to answer in today's video because there's been a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism of Mercedes Mone as well as AEW. And this is a far cry from what the reception was when she first went to AEW. Of course, in March of 2024, she made her arrival on the Big Business episode of Dynamite, and it was a significant moment for AEW. It was a significant moment for its women's division as well as Mercedes Mone because she was back in front of a U.S. fan base, a prominent U.S. fan base. I understand she did work in New Japan and in New Japan USA, but at the end of the day, it's apples to oranges, right? It's not a comparison, in my opinion, New Japan's footprint to AEW's footprint here in the States. And so when she signed, she reportedly did so for big money, reportedly making her the highest paid female talent in all of pro wrestling. And I'm talking above Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and etc., right? That was a big deal. So Tony Khan, he broke out the checkbook and he made a notable impact by signing her. And there was a lot of high expectations. They thought that Mercedes Mone would take the women's division to a whole nother level. In fact, if you think about it, they created essentially a Mercedes Mone segment. You know, you have your Chris Jericho segments, you have your John Moxley segments, your Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, and etc. You have those certain segments where every single week, MJF, you're going to have a segment. Well, Mercedes Mone had that, and they gave her the TBS title. I don't know why they would give her the TBS title. Why wouldn't you just give her the Women's Championship? But I digress. They did. And she's consistently defended the championship on television. She's consistently used on television. In fact, they brought in a creative writer just for her, right? And we're almost a year later, and I don't think the impact that Mercedes Mone has had on AEW necessarily warrants the paycheck in which she's getting. But you know what? Good for her. Good for her to get paid, take care of herself, and set up a fortune, right? If you don't like the creative that she's doing, that's fine. I don't either. If you don't like her in-ring work, which I disagree with you, that's fine too. But she's taking care of her and her family, and that's all that matters. So the question remains, did Mercedes Mone make a mistake by signing with AEW? Because it is a promotion which has cooled off in the last year or so. It was not where it is today, where it was when she first signed with them, right? Because she went to WWE not once but twice, in addition to meeting with Tony Khan in AEW, and she went back and forth. So here's a timeline. So she left WWE in May of 2022, didn't get her release, and wasn't able to be a free agent until January of 2023. She worked New Japan in 2023, got injured, was out the remainder of 2023, came back in 2024. Well, before she went to AEW, she met with Triple H or WWE execs, and they had a negotiation, and she was close to returning, but she obviously went to AEW. So now that we look back on it, now that we see what has gone on over the last year or so, did Mercedes Mone make a mistake by signing with AEW? No, and I'll tell you why. The reason that Mercedes Mone did not make a mistake by signing with AEW is because of a few different things. Number one, and more importantly, she got the best deal for her. Okay? So she is, number one, happy with the deal that she secured. Number two, for a wrestling industry standpoint, she made the right call, because it is easy to go to WWE, a company which had a monopoly impact on the industry ever since WCW closed and AEW launched in 2019. So she helped the wrestling business. That is one of the talking points that Adam Copeland has talked about. That is one of the talking points that Bryan Danielson has talked about. I think that's one of the reasons why MJF re-signed with AEW. It helps the business as a whole. It is a lot better for talent to be able to go to AEW and make a great living, or go to WWE and have a great living, instead of just, well, there's one show in town, and therefore, as we saw under Vince McMahon, creative is terrible, because when there is no competition, there is no options, and when there is no options, then the company that it remains will not put out the best product that they can. Okay. So for those two reasons, I think she made the right mistake or the right decision by signing with AEW. Another reason why I think Mercedes Mone made the right call was if you look at all of the matches in which we have got, if she went to WWE, we would not have gotten her and Chris Statlander, or her and Willow Nightingale, or her and Britt Baker, or her and Stephanie Valker. We would not have gotten those matches. We would not have gotten to see what she was able to do in New Japan. Arguably, she had a better run in New Japan than she has in AEW, right? And so I think for that reason, she made the right call. Ric Flair was recently on Busted Open Radio, and he was talking about how he feels like the two best wrestlers in WWE are Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, and he said that if Mercedes Moné was under contract with WWE, he would also put her in that footprint. He would also put her in that conversation. And I would agree with him in WWE, but if we're talking about the best in-ring, best overall, best female star in pro wrestling right now, Mercedes Moné is at the top of that list. From a promo standpoint, she's finally got it figured out. From a in-ring standpoint, she's finally got it back, right? Because when she was in WWE, she was arguably their best in-ring performer. When she first signed with AEW, she was doing these wacky promos that didn't make a lot of sense and was not resonating with fans. It came across as directionalist, WWE light type promos. Well, she's figured that out. Also, another thing that hurt her in the beginning was the fact that she came in as a babyface, and we all know that she's better as a heel, and so they've been able to pivot that, and then they put Camille with her for a little bit and got her a heater, and obviously that just absolutely evaporated, but you get the gist. Like, what she's been able to do, I would say probably since the Britt Baker feud. So we're talking, or even the Stephanie Valker match. I think around that time she was starting to find her groove as a heel. So let's say June of 2024 up to now, she's done really, really good. And every single time that she steps foot in the ring on a big time stage against a big time opponent, she knocks it out of the park. And she arguably has one of the best matches, if not the best match of the night. So we will see, as we go into 2025, obviously she recently went over Harley Cameron at Grand Slam Australia. We're building towards Revolution. Obviously we have Double or Nothing coming up. So there's a lot of interesting dates coming up. There's a lot of interesting, opponents and stages. And, another thing, it's like, okay, TBS champion, that's great, but when is she going to win the women's championship? And B, if we're trying to beat Jade Cargill's record, well, Mercedes Moné, she still has like 200 days more left to go. Like, Jade held it for some like crazy 581 day reign. So if Mercedes Moné wants to break that, well, time is on her side because she's got a long way to go.